You don't
Yes.
attract what you want, you attract what you are.
Yes.
And if I'm attracting junk and crap and horrible results and negative people, it's not out there, it's me.
You're listening to the Happy Productive Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Dawn, business coach and founder of Freedom Builders. If you're ready to slow it on down and stop grinding, do the inner work that makes outer success inevitable, and build a soul-aligned, not soul-sucking, business and life that feel amazing and overflow with ease and joy and happy productivity, you're in the right place. If you'd like to learn more, just hop on over to my website, jenniferdawncoaching.com. That's it. Let's get into today's episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. This is Jennifer Dawn, and my special guest today is Steve Linton. And if I'm talking fast, it's because I'm so ready to jump into this fun, amazing conversation that we are going to have today. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jennifer, thanks for having me on today. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, would you mind? You have such an incredible story. Would you mind just sharing a bit about your story and where you've come from and how you came to be doing the work that you're doing today?
Well, I'll condense that down into a short story because it goes back a long ways. I got out of the military and decided to go to college and decided I wanted to be a pilot. So I enrolled in college, got all my flight ratings, stayed in, got a master's degree in aviation safety, and I was just totally engrossed in aviation, period. My father was an air traffic controller and a pilot, and he wanted me to get my pilot's license and become a pilot. But unfortunately, in 1981, the controllers went on strike, and Reagan fired 11,000 controllers, which my dad was one of, and that was the end of flight training funds for quite some time. I picked it up years later while I was in college, got all my ratings, got my master's degree, and I got out and I was so ready to go make all this money as a pilot, doing something I was totally passionate about, and there were no jobs. Nobody was hiring. Early mid 90s, the only people getting jobs as pilots were ex-military pilots, and very few of them. So I ended up going into the corporate world. I started out flying skydivers. That got me into that sport. But I just couldn't make any real money. And I was so angry. I was bitter, spent all this money on college, and the jobs every time I look around, I would see people driving nice cars, they live in nice homes. What did I do wrong? And I ran into a guy I answered a classified ad one time. I was in Shreveport, Louisiana. I was flying for FedEx. I was flying a turboprop, a feeder airplane for FedEx. And I thought, you know what? I'm just making enough money to get by. I'm flying at night. I've got the days to myself. I'll go get maybe a server job, bartender, or something like that, just to get extra money. And I found an ad in a classified paper, and it said, work from home, earn thousands weekly. And I thought, well, that sounds a little sketchy, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it anyway. I called the number, and the gentleman that answered the phone ended up being the person that introduced me to personal development. And he also ended up being a business partner. We ended up starting a company in Scottsdale, Arizona, a network marketing company, and we grew that company from like 8 people to having people in over 160 countries around the world. We did very well. I wasn't doing so good because I was carrying all this negativity, all this anger and resentment because I'd spent all this money and I'm still barely getting by. And he came to me one day and he said, you know what your problem is? He said, it's your attitude. You need to start doing some personal development work. And at first I wanted to argue with him.
Yeah.
And then I thought about what he said, and I thought, you know what? Things aren't really working the way I'm doing it. Maybe I should give this stuff a chance. And I did. I started basically picking up every book or audio that I could get from personal development trainers, Bob Proctor, Mark Victor Hansen, Dr. Wayne Dyer, you name it. I had built this library. And what I recognized when I started applying those principles in my life, everything changed. I mean, not instantly and not overnight, but
Right.
with 6 months, I had gone from struggling. My seventh month, I made an income of $103,000 profit in 1 month. And this was
Mhm.
100% commission sales. So
Mhm.
this stuff really worked. Well, that led to my
Mhm.
book, which was called How I Made Six Figures in 1 Month. And that was a training manual for network marketers. It did very well, but it was a niche. It was a small niche for network marketers. And then a few years later, I started writing The Frequency of Success. I thought,
Mm.
what? There's another book in me that I want to write. But I started writing, and I think that thing sat for about 2 years because I
Mm.
just wasn't getting it all figured out. And then one day it hit
Yeah.
me, and I finished the book in about, 4 or 5 more months. And that has turned into, it is The Frequency of Success, which has turned into speaking and training and coaching and things like that. But here's the thing that people ask me. They say, what's different about your book? You're not a therapist, you're not a counselor, you're not a doctor, and I'm not.
Yep. Yep.
I'm only claiming that the stuff in the book, The Frequency of Success, the principles and the techniques, they may work for you, they may not, but they worked for me. And
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a disclaimer because I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you
Right.
this. It's a simple law of physics. Everything is
Mhm.
energy. Everything vibrates at a particular frequency. Every
Yes.
everything in the universe. Well, I was never very good at math, but
Mhm.
physics I loved. I understood physics. It made sense to
Yeah.
me. So if that's really, if like frequencies attract, then
Yes.
I know the answer to the problem. Raise my
Mhm.
frequency. You don't
Yes.
attract what you want, you attract what you are.
Yes.
And if I'm attracting junk and crap and horrible results and negative people, it's not
Mhm.
out there, it's me. I figured that out.
Yes.
Like this is simple. So all the reading and digesting of personal development and listening to authors and going to seminars, it started to change my frequency until I was up and consistently doing months of $100,000 or more. But
Yeah.
that really wasn't the pinnacle because the pinnacle was when I started sharing it with other people and
Mhm.
helping other people raise their frequency. And within 6 months after, there was 4 or 5 people that went on to completely shatter my income records and
Yeah.
obviously turn their lives you know to a higher level. So it was something that was like a calling. That was a calling for me, and I don't regret a minute of it. All the struggles and the there was a time I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car, and all of it
Mhm.
was absolutely worth it.
Wow. Oh, so amazing. Okay, this is so cool. You're the right person to have this conversation with today because so I love law of attraction. I've studied it for years. Huge fan of all of it, honestly. I love it. It feels so good. But I noticed that for myself, I had a hard time really attracting things like, especially in the money space, sometimes in the health space, the relationship space, I would have a hard time. Like I would get some results, but not the great results I wanted. And so one of the things that I now teach as a coach is I don't spend a lot of time on energy and law of attraction, although other than to just explain everything is energy, absolutely, and like attracts like. And if you know that, you know enough to understand that if you're getting a
Yep.
result that you don't like, it's 100% you and something's going on, even if you don't see it or really understand it. And so for me, one of the things I really had to dive into was my nervous system. Because in my nervous system, I had rules, say I call them safety rules that got created from a long time ago. And those rules were running the show even as an adult, where if I had a fear around money, and I did because I learned when I was 10, I I worked in my grandparents' office and I made a lot of money. I made $5 an hour, and that was a lot of years ago. And I was like the hot shit because I'm like, I made $5 an hour and I was bringing home all this money. Well, that money got the attention of my parents, who were not the best people. And so they essentially took the money. They quote borrowed it, but I never saw the money again. And if I kept my money, I was selfish, I was bad. But if I gave them the money, then I was a good girl and I was loved and I was safe. And so literally at 10 years old, and it took me a lot of years, this didn't just like dawn on me, like it took me a lot of years to figure out what happened. Well, I realized then that I learned that keeping money moving away from me was how I stayed safe. And so once I went in and did that deep inner work to repattern that so that keeping money was actually safe for me, then I started to really be able to keep money, because I was making money right and left. And then it's just like, but why doesn't this money stay? Why is there always some reason? Somebody needs something, some crisis, some whatever. I'm like, why is this money not staying? Well, because in my little system, it was not safe to stay. So I'm running on a frequency really of fear, of just fear is what's running the show, even though I'm out, I've got this, great bio, I'm doing all this work in the world. And so my theory, Steve, and I would love to bounce this off of you, is that all the law of attraction stuff absolutely works if you have a fully regulated nervous system and good safety rules in place. But for those of us who don't, we could be running on a frequency of fear and not even realize it because of things that happened to us, decades ago. So I would love your thoughts on that.
There's a lot to unpack here, and I'll go back a little bit because you've keyed on several things that I think are critical for people to understand. One, let's talk about the law of attraction. First of all, everybody got hyped up over The Secret. The Secret was a huge hit. Well, the law of attraction is one of the 12 universal laws, okay? The Secret was all about the law of attraction. But there was one component missing in The Secret. That's action. Action.
Yeah, that's it.
Just sit and think positive thoughts. It's like, okay, I'm sitting in this room right now, and you know what? It is hot in here. It is really hot in here. And I can sit here and think about ice cubes and cool breezes, and I can picture it in my mind. I can feel it. I can see it. Until I get off my butt and go turn the air conditioner down, it's not going to get any cooler. You have to have action. Now, the other thing I want to comment on, your example, the story you just shared, is a perfect example of the number one thing that holds people in mediocrity, and that's fear. Fear. Limiting beliefs they come from fear. But limiting beliefs were those belief systems that were instilled in you as a child by your parents and your peers. In this case, your parents, it was about money. And where most parents, they talk to their kids about money, a lot of times it's, that's filthy, those people are filthy rich and, the root of all evil and, money and that's for other people. Those rich people. Those are limiting beliefs about money. And I had my own. My dad, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. That's for rich people. I had the same problem. Well, in order to get past that, here's the key to everything in the frequency of success, summed up in a couple sentences. Your subconscious mind controls everything in your life. Everything. Most importantly, it controls your self-image. Your self-image was built during that time between the time you were born and, somewhere around 7 years old or so. You soak up everything like a sponge. All those limiting beliefs, all those things that you're told, don't do that. You can't, those things never work, or be careful, you'll get hurt. All these things, and it becomes your self-image. Well, you don't recognize it until later in your life when things aren't going quite right and you can't figure out why. Why can't I keep the money? Why does the money seem to go out? Now, don't misunderstand. Keeping money in motion is a good thing. Money is energy just like everything else. We want to keep it in motion. But in your case, you're giving it to them for the wrong reasons because they're more or less taking it. Well,
Right.
your self-image was that, my money has to go there in order for me to feel safe. So that process looks like this. We go back in and we do some visualization or some affirmations or both. And really it's about, if you can, let me put it this way. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between truth and fiction. It accepts everything you get it and takes it as real. The good news is we can lie to our subconscious. If we do it correctly, we can reprogram it. So the way, what that looks like is, I grew up poor, so to speak, and I had all these beliefs about money and me personally, and, I'm a skinny, scrawny kid, nobody likes me, all that. But I close my eyes and I see myself as the person I'm going to be, the person that I will be. That's the person, the leader, how I walk, how I talk, how people respond to me, how they interact with me, everything. I get all my emotions involved, my senses involved, and I see that vision clearly. And if I visit that and do that consistently with repetition and full emotion, your subconscious mind takes that as the new reality. That becomes your new self-image. And that's what allows things to start flowing back to you, for you to raise that vibration, for you to be able to keep that money. And then tied at your wishes. Trust me, doing something for other people with nothing expected in return is one of the best ways for you to attract things into your life. In your case, you were giving money away because you felt that made you safe.
Yeah.
So it's really comes down to that simple law of physics. Like frequencies attract. And if I know if I'm not getting the results that I want, it's because of me. People look outward. If I only had that job, or if I got this promotion, or if I had that car, or that house, or those clothes, then I would be the person. No, it doesn't work that way. Be, do, have. If you want, you have to be the person that you see in that vision of yourself. You have to be that person. Then you do the things that person would do, and then you'll have the things that person has. Not the other way around, where people think, well, if I only had that, I could be that person. It doesn't work.
Yeah, Steve, you said so many great things. I love that be, do, have. That's so awesome. But the be, right? Those of you who are listening right now, because you're right. The secret, it was missing that whole action part, right? I can sit on my couch and dream about a red Ferrari, but it's like, there are Ferraris not coming anywhere if you don't get off your ass and go do something and actually take some action to bring it in. But that be part, I think that's so easy for people to get stuck on. Oh, I'm looking outside of myself for these things to happen. And then the being it, like to be in that space, to feel that new, person, that where you're trying to go. I think a lot of people can really get tripped up in that. And so what's one thing that somebody could take away from today's show that would help them to really connect those dots on the being of this, this new version of you that you're after?
My best suggestion would be, one, is to spend some time doing some serious soul searching on, first of all, where are you right now? Where's your energy right now? And who are you right now? Take a self-inventory, but then maybe grab a piece of paper and write down some things. Who is the ideal person that I would like to be? What kind of a person am I? How do people interact with me? Do I get along with people? Build this vision of the person you want to be. You have to do this. It's work. It takes work. And sometimes it takes time, because not everybody's going to be able to just sit down and go, oh, I want to be this, and this. Yeah. You got to really do some soul searching. But you have to build that vision of that person and then visit that vision often. And it's just a simple process of tricking your subconscious mind to think this is the reality. And then what happens? Your subconscious mind says, oh, okay, he's wealthy, he's this, he's that, he's successful, whatever it is that you created in your mind, your subconscious mind then starts to create that in physical reality by opportunities showing up in your path that take you to that reality. Now, let's use an example of, and I don't mean to make everything monetary, but everybody understands money and understands things. The thing about the frequency of success, it doesn't just apply to your money or your car. It applies to every single area of your life exactly the same way. So whether it's personal or business or relationships or corporate, anything going on in your life, this works the same way. So let's take the example of back in the early 2000s when we had just launched this company and I was starting to really hit some big months. And I think I did. I had my first six-figure month, and I celebrated by going down to the Mercedes dealership and picking out a brand new E55 Mercedes. Well, it would take like 6 months for that car to come in from Germany. And I didn't have to pay for it up front. I only put down a $5,000 deposit, and that got it to the showroom. But what I did was every time I had an opportunity, I would go visit the dealership and I would sit in one of those cars, the same car. I would sit in it, I'd feel the leather. They actually let me drive one, so I drove it. But I'm getting emotionally involved with this vision, this thing that I want. You can't just say, well, I want something, and then not take any action. Part of the action is go ride it, go drive it, go see it, whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
Go experience that, even if it's only for a little bit. But I would go to the dealership. I mean, they got so tired of me coming in going, oh, Steve's here. Open the E55. But what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious mind, this is mine.
Right.
This is me. This is who I am. And again, your subconscious mind starts to create that in physical form. And, as soon as the car came in, I went and picked it up. And that's my first Mercedes story. Yeah. But the principles are exactly the same for whatever you want. So for the listeners, if you're struggling on the be, on who you're going to be, go back. Here's the thing. You are a blank canvas. Regardless of what's been painted on that canvas before, you can wash all that right off and start from scratch, and you can build yourself any way you want because it's all in the subconscious mind. So being that person is just a matter of figuring out, who do you want to be? What kind of a person? What do you want to accomplish? And one of the things I share with everybody is just remember one thing. Don't make it just about you. It has to be about helping other people as well. The surest way to get anything you want in your life is to help other people get what they want.
Yeah. Absolutely. So good. We do retreats for our clients, and I always say to everybody when we do the visioning, like, get out of your day to day, because when you're just in that same environment, the same thing day after day, to then create a bigger vision of you and your life and what you want, I always go somewhere really beautiful. We rent these, I have one of my favorite places is Sedona, and I have this beautiful home, and I've gone there just on my own before, just to be I want to be in this space because I want to bring things in that feel this good. And so what you were saying is exactly it. Get out of your day to day, go somewhere you actually want to be, somewhere really beautiful, and feel it. Feel it, make it part of who you are.
The biggest thing you just hit on is getting out of your ordinary day, because that's what brings all the trauma. That's what brings, if you're like most people, your day is filled with stuff, like negative stuff. So the best way to create the new version of you is, like you said, get out of there. We used to go to the mountains in Georgia and just rent a cabin and just brainstorm. A lot of times I tell people, just find a quiet place with no distractions where you can be still and be at peace, close your eyes. But what you said is even better, because if you can put yourself in a place that you think is absolutely peaceful or beautiful, the beach, the mountains, it doesn't matter, whatever it is for that person, put yourself in that space and then do that exercise. You'll find much more success with creating the be.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. I remember a long time ago hearing a story from Ed Milet. I think most of us have heard of Ed, and he's got a great podcast and his book and stuff. But he was saying that like before he had money, he would, set a goal for himself that he had to go make a certain amount of sales or whatever, and then he'd set a little money aside, and then he'd take that money, and him and his wife would go hang out at like, the Ritz-Carlton for like one night, because that was all they could afford, was just like one night. But they would be in that beautiful place, and they would go sit at the beautiful pool, and they would be around all the wealthy people. And Ed's pretty wealthy. He's a cajillionaire, so there you go. And it's just that same idea.
Here's a great point in exactly what you just said. I played sports growing up. I was very much into sports and fitness, football, basketball, wrestling, track. I played volleyball in college. I always wanted to play with people that were better than me, because that made me better. They say you become like the people you hang out with most. Take your 5 closest friends and add up their income and, divide it by 5, and that's probably about what you make. Well,
yeah,
I didn't necessarily look at it that way. I just knew that if I want to get better at anything, sports, business, anything, it would probably behoove me to hang out with people that are already good at it, right? And so doing that makes all the difference in the world. And finding people to, treat as a mentor, a coach, someone to follow is huge when you're rebuilding your self-image and you're raising your frequency. Find somebody that's already done what you want to do and learn. Soak it up.
Yeah, I love it. And so good, right? And it doesn't have to cost a ton of money. We talked about money a little bit here, but like it's easy to say, oh, I don't have the money for that. But like there's so many things you can do that don't require the money. Like don't let that be a showstopper to get out of your day-to-day. Go put yourself in these environments. Like you don't have to have money to make that happen.
I love your example of going to the Ritz-Carlton. I've done that in the past. Go somewhere where you feel more like the person you want to be. I use the example of when I would put on a suit years ago, back, when I was in the network marketing business. If I had a down month or a down day or whatever, there was times I would just put a suit on, get in my car, and just go for a drive. Because when I put a suit on, it changes my posture. I feel good about myself. Now take women. Women put on high heels. It raises their heels. It changes their posture. And I believe in most cases, correct me if I'm wrong, you have more confidence when your posture changes like that. Those are things that help. Now, you said something a second ago, and I'll add to it. It's not just what they do, it's what they shouldn't do. What do most people do when they get up in the morning? What do they turn on the news and listen to all the death, destruction, corruption?
Not me. That's a way to ruin. That's how you ruin the day, Steve.
Well, I'm sure you know how many people. That's what they do
on the phone, right?
On the
Scrolling
phone.
emails,
or getting all wrapped up in the corporate water cooler talk at work. Who did what and the drama and this and that. First of all, cut all that crap out.
Yes,
I did this back in the mid 90s or late 90s. My friend said, you need to do a media fast. And I was never a big news person anyway, but he said, you need to do a media fast. And this was before internet really took off.
Yeah.
And I said, what's a media fast? He said, I want you to cut out all the news. Don't listen to anything, not TV, radio. Read a personal development book, listen to a personal development author. And trust me, people say, well, I have to keep up on stuff. If it's important enough for you to know about, somebody's going to tell you. Because during that time, well, I guess it was after, but I went on that 30-day media fast, and I never went back off of it. I mean,
right.
in 2001, when the Twin Towers collapsed, I
Yeah.
didn't see it on the news. Somebody told me about it because I didn't
Yeah.
watch the news. And just think
Right.
about this. Your subconscious mind soaks up everything. Well, if you
Right.
start your day with all this negativity and junk, and then, you go out in traffic and everybody's driving like jerks, and you get to the office and people are rude, it all started with what you put in your brain in the morning.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
try this. Try this. Don't listen to the news in the morning. Put on something positive. It could just be music. Do something different. I personally
Yeah.
like to listen to personal development authors. And then when you go to work, you get out in traffic, mark my words. And this would tie into my Frequency of the Road book where I talk about avoiding road rage and all that. But when you start your day positive instead of negative, you'll find that the people around you are more positive. Why? Because you're putting out higher frequency vibrations, and that's what you'll attract back to you.
Yeah.
Rather than, starting with filling your head with a bunch of negative crap, and then your day turns to crap.
Yeah. I hear you. Like, I stopped watching the news a long time ago. And you know what? If something big happens, somebody tells me about it. And I just trust that if I need to know, the information will find me. And
Well,
it does. And like, I see people who are just so into the news all the time. And it's just like, if you know anything about the news, like, they sensationalize it, they use fear because that's how they get more people to watch, is with fear instead of with good news. There is something called the Good News Network, by the way.
is
If you
there?
guys like news, just tune into the Good News Network. It was started by a former journalist. And so, but I hear you. Like, it's just, I trust that the information I need will find me. And when you stop starting your day like that, and even going through your day with all of that just doom and gloom, it is a total game changer.
I have a frequency assessment. That's part of the frequency of success. And then I have a frequency reset protocol. And it's basically taking 60 seconds, figure out, where am I right now? Is my frequency serving me or is it not? Is it getting me closer to where I want to be or farther away? And it's a simple, about a 60-second reset protocol where you can go through, clear that crap out, and reset your frequency and go forward. And say, you know what? You might have to do it 2 or 3 times a day, depending on your situation. But this stuff works. And then the other thing I recommend is change your language. Change. Words have so much power. Words are energy. Money is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is energy. Thought energy. Stop thinking negative thoughts, and most of all, stop using those negative words like can't, try, wish, hope,
Yeah.
want, those things, and replace them with a positive counterpart like I will be, I am,
Yes.
I deserve instead of I need,
Right.
things like that.
Right.
But when you
Oh
tie
no, you're gonna
tie
laugh,
it all
Steve. So
together,
here's what I have. Okay, for those of you you can't see me on video, I hold up my little baby Yoda, my little Grogu. And so when I'm on coaching call and I hear somebody say, well, I'm trying, we hold up baby Yoda because we have to remember there is no try, there is only do.
exactly right.
We have a little fun with it, but you're right. The neuro linguistics, the words have power. And if you've ever been like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to save money, no, you're not. You either are doing it or you are not doing it. And so just shifting that language a little bit can make such a huge difference as
And I will
well.
tell you that when I first heard about all this and it was introduced to me, my first reaction was, "Pff, that's too
Yeah.
girly. I'm too manly for that stuff. I don't
Yeah.
do that. I'm fine." And then one day I thought, you know what? It's definitely not working the way I'm doing it. So maybe I'll give it a chance. And everything changed. So if you're one of
And
those
everything
people that
shifted.
use this and think, that's bullshit. No, it's
Yeah.
not. So
It's not. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. We are just about out of time, but Steve, thank you. I knew this was going to be a super fun conversation. And for those of you who are listening, if you have struggled, I'm going to let Steve share in just a second about his book. And then, of course, you can always come talk to us as well. We're doing so much great work with our clients, going deep into the nervous system and very, very gently repatterning. And as you start to repattern some of these old safety rules, and again, it's same concepts, just done different ways, which I just love all the different teachers, that when you start to shift these things, these deep-seated beliefs that are literally stored in your system that were done without your conscious knowledge, guess what? Your frequency changes. It just changes when you're not carrying all this stuff around. So you know where to find me. And Steve, where can everybody find you? Where can they find your book?
The book's available on Amazon. You can also get it through my website, thefrequencyofsuccess.com. I've got a free 5-day Frequency of Success challenge that I highly encourage people to go. There's no obligation. There's a video at the end if you want to go further, but it's not mandatory. But take that and just do the 5 days. It's free, no hassle, and see how you come out. You're going to take your energy evaluation when you start. You're going to check your frequency when you start, and you're going to check it when you end. And if there's not a difference, I'll be shocked, because I have not met anybody yet that can go through it and not see a difference. So it's just a matter of, just remember, it's a simple law of frequency.
Yeah.
All, like frequencies attract. And if you're not getting the results, then you just raise your own frequency.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so can they get the 5-day at the Frequency of Success?
Frequencyofsuccess.com. It'll scroll down. It's down under coaching and stuff like that, but it's listed as a free 5-day challenge. And then there are coaching programs on there. I will say that I'm super excited. The Frequency of Success is now a series. The second book was The Frequency of the Road, Avoiding Road Rage and Aggressive Driving. If you know somebody who is an aggressive driver, you need to get this book. It's available on Amazon. Or if you just want to know how to avoid it, it takes the same principles and applies them. And then down the road, by the end of summer, I'll have The Frequency of Leadership, The Frequency of Service, honoring military, police, fire, EMS, all that. And then the next book after that, which I'm getting ready to start, is The Frequency of Grief, dealing with loss.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Like, great topics. All right, everybody, you heard it here. Get on Amazon, start picking up some of Steve's books, go visit his website. We will put all this information in the show notes as well. Steve, thank you so much for being
My
here
pleasure,
with me today.
Jennifer. I had a great time. I would love to come back and do this again sometime.
I would love that as well. Absolutely. Would love to have you back. And you guys, one of the things that we said a little earlier in the show, I always kind of gently remind everybody at the end of a show, it's great to sit here and listen, but you gotta take some action. Pick one thing, even if it's just one thing that you heard in today's show, and just do something with it, right? Be, do, have. Just pick up one thing and do it. And that's how you're going to get the best results. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. We know your time is valuable. We appreciate you spending it with us. That is it. Now get out there and have a happy, productive day, y'all. Bye. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to have you join us inside Freedom Builders, my coaching community for entrepreneurs who are ready to slow it on down, do the inner work, and build soul-aligned businesses that are happy, productive. Everything you need is linked below in the description, or you can visit my website at jenniferdawncoaching.com. I hope to see you there.